Good evening. I'm Terry Kimball, President and CEO of the Chandler Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to welcome all of you to Chandler 100%. After the year we had, it is so nice to see a limited amount of people and faces here in our audience tonight. Socially distanced, of course. The past several months have been sobering for our business community. On behalf of the Chandler Chamber and its board of directors, we recognize that all businesses in our country, and especially here in our community, are experiencing a difficult year and have made hard decisions during these uncertain times. Through it all, the Chandler Chamber has been a resource for funding, business education, job opportunities, and most importantly, advocacy. In partnership with the City of Chandler, we are currently distributing their I Choose Chandler PPE kit to help our local shop owners and restaurants safely serve customers and employees alike, allowing businesses to continue and thrive. By their nature, outstanding leaders and innovative thinkers are resourceful, creative, persistent, and resilient. Over the past several months, we have seen incredible displays of leadership from our own Chandler businesses, nonprofits, the Chamber itself, and of course, the City of Chandler. We are here tonight to honor our remarkable Chandler businesses who have pivoted and shifted to sustain themselves and serve our community. Our Chandler 100% is a way of telling their stories of our Chandler businesses while recognizing what we are doing here to help our community. At this time, I would like to introduce the Honorable Chandler Mayor, Kevin Harkey.
This year, Chandler has truly earned its title as the community of innovation. As business owners, you have been faced with unparalleled challenges and tough decisions. I want to thank all of you for the strength and leadership you have shown our community. Chandler businesses have gone above and beyond to support their neighbors, protect employees and patrons, and have worked hard to protect our economic prosperity. I'm proud of the innovation displayed by our business community to adapt to this ever-changing situation. I am proud that our local economy continued to thrive throughout the pandemic. And I am proud that because of your efforts, Chandler is still recognized nationally as a top city to live, work, play, and apparently to quarantine. Although we still have a road ahead of us, we will continue to create ways to support and advocate for our business community. I look forward to working with our chamber and all of our wonderful businesses to ensure a brighter 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, for those great words. Now, please help me introduce our 2020 Board Chair, Molly Bell from GoDaddy.
On behalf of the Chandler Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, all whom can be found on the Chandler Chamber website, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our sponsors supporting this event. This year, our presenting sponsors are Air Products and Chemicals, Dignity Health Chandler Regional Medical Center, and Salt River Project. These past months have been a defining moment in our business climate. Tonight, we celebrate the businesses that accepted challenge and envisioned opportunity. Many of them reinvented themselves, their products or services, and went above and beyond, opening their hearts in efforts to carry Chandler forward through these difficult times. These businesses have not only supported their own teams, but have expanded their touch to reach groups and individuals, those who needed it most, and impacting the lives of others and making a difference. Even after this grueling year, we still see Chandler businesses as diverse, bold, and innovative. Let's take a look at these incredible companies.
With me now is Chief Sean Duggan with the City of Chandler Police Department. Chief, thank you so much for being here. This year, our Chandler Police Department has really worked diligently, not only to keep our Chandler residents and businesses safe, but you've also had to jump in and offer essential support to neighboring communities. Can you share some of the things that you and your team have done over this past year?
Sure. Well, thank you, Terry, for the opportunity really to share some of the Chandler police story. It's been a wild year in so many, an unprecedented year in so many ways. And I'll just take it back to March. Remember, in March we had three of our officers shot in the line of duty, and fortunately they're all fine and recovered. But that's certainly something that kind of shakes you at the core and highlights again the inherent dangers associated with this with our profession. So we weathered that, and then that really coincided with the really the advent of COVID and that picking up. So we had to deal with that, just like every other American had to deal with COVID in our country. And then we had the summer. We had the death of George Floyd back on May 25th. And then on May 30th, we had in Scottsdale, they experienced their riots up in their Camelback Scottsdale corridor, affecting their Scottsdale Fashion Center Mall. And that's where we were able to send up between 45 or 50 of our officers that evening to assist Scottsdale with their troubles. And then that very next day, the first time in the history of our department, we fully mobilized. So we had all hands on deck, every Chandler officer in uniform working and protecting our infrastructure and our assets in our city. And then for the first 10 days of June, again, full mobilization, dealing with protests and people demonstrating and making sure that their voices were heard in a safe and lawful manner. So that took us through mid-June. And then from June on till really the election, we were dealing with smaller protests in our community and then helping our neighboring jurisdictions with their protests. And then, of course, that led up to the actual election itself. And there was a lot of training and planning because we just simply didn't know. So we wanted to make sure that we were prepared. We had the proper staffing in coordination with our local and regional and our federal partners. And then the election happened. And then here we are again with the second wave surge of COVID. So it's been quite the year.
It has. And your team has been absolutely amazing. Because, you know, you talk about the protests or the people expressing their freedom of speech. And it's not just that. You have, in an election year, you've got a lot of public officials that come out, whether they're one party or the other, and you have to protect all sides and all people that are involved, no matter what. So I'm sure that was a little challenging.
Well, at the end of the day, we realize we are everyone's police. So our job is to keep our city safe. And we'll do whatever we need to do to keep our city safe while ensuring that your right or anyone's right to protest or demonstrate is done safely. And when people operate outside those lanes, then there are consequences. And that's where we would have our role. But we wanted to make sure that anyone that wanted to voice their opinion had a right to do so if it was done in a safe and proper manner.
I will tell you one of the most touching stories. There were many touching stories that you and your team have had over the past year. But when you went out there and you met with some of the protesters, and here you were marching right down Arizona Avenue and just walking right with them, that said a lot about our community and your leadership. And I want to thank you for that.
I appreciate that, Terry, but it was a point of pride. It was a proud moment for our city because unlike other cities, nearly everyone out there that evening, we had probably 400 people that one night that you're referring to. These are all people who live in Chandler. A lot of those folks went to Chandler High School. They were current students or former students. So they were invested in their community. And that was a proud moment for our city because not only did they come out and express their concerns and their opinions, but they did it in a peaceful, respectful manner. And that's the best possible case scenario. So as a police chief, but as a resident of Chandler, I could not have been more proud of the way that was handled by our community in our city.
And before we close, are there any final comments that you would like to add?
Well, Terry, again, I appreciate your support, the support of the chamber, all the businesses. And when I said earlier about the pride I had in our community, absolutely true. But I could not be more proud of the men and women of the Chandler Police Department. Their service and sacrifice this year has been unprecedented. From full mobilization to leave and time and vacations canceled. Most people don't know the pressures that our folks have been under, but they've weathered that with the utmost professionalism and dedication. And again, I could not be more proud of the team we have in place here at the Chandler Police Department. So thank you and everyone for all your support.
Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for your service. Hi, joining us now is Chief Tom Dwiggins with the City of Chandler Fire Department and EMS. This year has come with a whole set of unique set of obstacles, and we feel so grateful that throughout everything, our leaders in public safety you've been working around the clock to keep our community safe. In fact, in the early stages, I think you guys were the ones that you were trying to figure out what was happening with some of the calls and that. Can you share with us how your amazing team has adapted this year to continue to protect us as a community?
Thank you, Terry, for having me on. So it certainly has been a very unique year. Obviously, since I would say the end of February, March is when we really started to experience COVID cases coming into our community. I can tell you that even before that, at the end of January, we were starting to prepare for this. One thing that really worked in public safety's favor, I think, here in Arizona, is that the East Coast and Washington, both of those areas had a lot of cases, and they had a lot of, they overwhelmed the emergency rooms, they overwhelmed their ICUs, they overwhelmed public safety. And one thing about public safety is that we're a pretty close-knit group. And so early on, we were communicating with fire chiefs from across the country that were really experiencing the heart of this pandemic. And we were able to learn a lot of valuable lessons from them, which helped us better prepare so that when that big wave did hit Arizona, we had a lot of policies in place, a lot of procedures in place that really helped to limit the exposure to not only our firefighters, but the citizens of Chandler. So I guess the biggest thing I would say, and I think our public safety people are outstanding. These individuals are mothers, they're fathers, they are, parts of big families, friends. And what we have to remember is that this virus is not only impacting them at work and changing how they do everything from the time they get to work till the time they leave, but they still have a family at home and they're still having to live through a pandemic. They're worried about it. Their spouses are worried about it. Their kids were out of school. Some of their kids are back in school. Some are still out of school. So they're dealing with a lot of the same things our citizens deal with, and it is a challenging time. Yet they come to work every single day. And the minute that they walk into that fire station, they push all of that aside and they become professionals and they focus on serving our community. We've done really a ton of things. The way that we respond to 911 calls has completely changed. We have to think about not only the health of our own people and the fact that they could somehow get this virus, but also that we could potentially have it ourselves, be asymptomatic and spread it. And so we really take a lot of measures, and we say we, I mean them. In the morning when they get to work, their temperatures are taken, their captains sit down, they talk to them, they try to understand their well-being, they ask how everyone's feeling, making sure that nobody has any of the signs and symptoms that you see with COVID. And then right away, they start checking off the equipment, making sure it's ready for the day, making sure that everything is clean and serviceable, and then they're running calls. Now, it used to be we would pull up in a fire truck, all 4 people would get out, and if you were, having chest pain, we would all 4 walk into your house and start treating you. Now, even before we get there, our dispatch center is talking to the patient. or talking to the family members, trying to assess, is there a potential that anyone has a fever, a cough, anything like that? And based on that information, we're only sending 2 people in. So we keep 2 people outside and we send 2 people inside. And that we do that because we want to minimize the exposure. Once we get our first 2 inside, only 1 person will actually make contact with the patient. And then based on their findings, if it's a critical patient, we're all going to come in because obviously we have to treat the patient. But if it's something that's maybe not as critical, we'll actually keep people outside and we'll do everything we can, as I said, to minimize that exposure. Once the crews are done with the call, we will actually get back out to the truck. Before we get into the truck, we're cleaning everything. So we're using all types of disinfectants, all of our equipment, our boots, everything. Obviously, we're in full mask, goggles, gowns. We have all of our PPE on. But then we get in the truck. We go back to the station. Once we get into the station, depending on the type of the call or the type of call it is, they, again, decon everything. They throw their uniforms in the washer. They all go take showers. They get done. They put a new uniform on. They get all the equipment ready, and they go to the next call. And we've been doing that now since March. And so it's just, it's a long process, but it is so important to us that we make sure that our community is safe. And we, when we had the nursing homes and we had a lot of the responses to the nursing homes, we were so fearful that we would track this in those nursing homes. And so we got into a position where we wanted to minimize any, as I keep saying, any exposure. And so all of these protocols have been put in place. It's something that these firefighters, I got to be honest with you, they're exhausted right now. It's been a long time. And even though we've seen changes where we've loosened up restrictions, that doesn't apply to us. As long as there's a live virus that could potentially impact one of our citizens or somebody visiting our city, we are going to handle it the same we handle since day one. And so we'll be in that position until obviously there's herd immunity or there's widespread vaccines.
Well, you and your team are doing an absolutely amazing job. And under your leadership, it really makes us proud to live in this community. So we just want to thank you and public safety for everything that you're doing to keep Chandler safe. So thank you for your efforts.
Thanks, Terry. And if I can just say one thing that I just want to mention now that I got you on Zoom, I will say that I want to thank the business community, and I know that's who you largely represent. But I know early on, Terry, I think I have emails from you in February or early March where you were getting PPE for us. And we honestly, at one point, we ran out of gowns, and we really looked to any type of business or community members that could provide us with the equipment that we needed. And if you recall, I know you put us in touch with a few people, but everything from masks, from gowns, before we knew it, within like a 3-week period, we had everything we need. I'm happy to report we are stocked up to 2023 right now. And so we're in a really good spot. But I do want to thank the business community because they're a big part of that.
Well, that's what makes the Chandler community so great, is that we do band together in times of crisis. So thank you again. And I appreciate those kind words, and we'll definitely make sure we relay that. So now let's see what our health partners have been up to this year. Now I am joined by Dr. Jeremy and Alyssa Silverman with Peace of Mind Dental Studio. Welcome. Our healthcare workers have really continued to go above and beyond this year. And not only our healthcare workers, but dental. We need to have dental, have our teeth cleaned and those kinds of things. But you've really had to go above and beyond this year to protect not only your patients, but your staff and providing those vital services that we need every day. You actually recently just opened your facility this year in the midst of the pandemic. So can you talk a little bit and share with us ways that you have developed in your practice safety procedures that have allowed your offices to be open and to treat patients?
Yeah, absolutely. Construction for our practice started in May of 2020 and wasn't finished until about September when we opened. And that gave us an ample amount of time to be intentional about our planning to keep our patients and our staff, safe in the office. So we were able to create some really strong infection control protocols and guidelines, and expanded upon what the CDC and OSHA has set forth as what we need to do to keep everyone safe. So Alyssa's practice, she's going to talk a little bit about how she's helping her patients, and I'll follow up with how we're helping on the dental side.
Yeah, because our practice is unique in that we've combined both of our professions to be under one roof. So Jeremy takes care of the dentistry side, and as a therapist, I also have an office to see clients out of. But because of COVID, we had to pivot on that as well. And I'm seeing all my clients via telehealth. So that allows us to still interact without masks on, and makes for more effective treatment than actually being in person with masks. So even though I have this brand new office in here, nobody's seeing it right now except virtually, but we'll get everybody back in the office hopefully soon.
And so even though Alyssa may not be wearing a mask when she's treating patients in her private office, all staff members are required to be in masks at all times while in the building. When patients enter our office, we only allow a maximum of 2 patients in the waiting room at one time. This allows for social distancing to be achieved in our somewhat smaller waiting room. When patients arrive, they have their temperature checked, and they fill out a pre-screening questionnaire that gives us an idea if they've had any exposure to COVID recently. And if they had that, then we would strongly urge them to postpone their treatment for another time when they're better. And if there is any physical paperwork for our patients and they have to fill out using a pen, we offer a pen for them to take with them, so we're not recycling any pens. Our office is almost fully digitized, however, and patients are filling out their paperwork on a tablet. And that tablet is disinfected with a UV sanitizing unit that we bought specifically to help during this time. The tablet is disinfected along with other electronic devices like remotes and computer mice and keyboards and things like that. So the CDC has stated that ultraviolet light is highly effective at deactivating coronavirus. So that's why we have implemented that device into the practice. Additionally, we've increased our air filtration with really strong HEPA filters in our HVAC unit. Our construction team also added ultraviolet light into our HVAC intake, and that helps keep our air clean and keep our staff and our patients safe during treatment in the office. In the clinical areas, when patients are finished with treatment, we wipe down everything and clean all surfaces with a strong disinfectant. Everything is sterilized. Our sterilizing unit is tested weekly by a third-party laboratory to ensure that everything is operating properly. We make sure to flush our water lines, clean the water lines, clean our suction units. And we're now using high volume suction for all procedures in the office, where before during your cleaning, you may not have that kind of suction to help reduce aerosols, but now we make sure that is implemented for those procedures to keep the aerosols down.
Wow, you have really went, people don't think when they come to, whether it's a dentist or into a medical office, they come there and they're there, a short amount of time. They come in, get their teeth cleaned, and boom, they're out the door. but they don't understand all the infrastructure that it takes place. And being under the medical care or health care, you're under much stringent guidelines. And I think you had kind of alluded to that earlier in the conversation. But I also want to talk about it's really important to be able to receive these treatments now regularly, as well as don't put them off, because there could be all kinds of things, you could have heart conditions that your dentist then discovers.
Absolutely.
And also just for our overall mental health, I think it's important. We've got to stay healthy in all aspects, not just physically, but mentally. So that's why the marriage of these two literally is really, really important. So I just want to thank you for your investment, not only here in Chandler, but also to our community and your commitment to really keeping us safe. It speaks volumes about who you are and about your practice and your organization. So thank you for keeping us safe and healthy. And now let's take a look at what our education partners are up to during this pandemic. Joining me now is Dr. Camille Castile, Superintendent of Chandler Unified School District. Dr. Castile, CUSD continues to remain committed to providing continued connection and instruction, as well as a vital community resource this year. Your team has been absolutely amazing. And they've had a lot of different pivots, and pivots isn't even the right word, because the second they change something to accommodate, something else has changed. So you continue to meet the needs of students and families in the community. Can you share some of the things that CUSD has done?
Well, Terry, thank you for the kind words. Like I tell my staff, it's like building the airplane while we're flying it, because none of us have been through a pandemic before. And, back all the way back to March, just trying to make good decisions and acquire good information. And one of the challenges has been that the information changes, the rules change, the recommendations, the experts. And again, no one has been through this before, so I'm not being critical of anybody. It's just that we're trying to react and respond appropriately. So we started out with a task force of about 40 people who put together some mitigation strategies and a plan for the pandemic. And for the most part, I think our mitigation strategies are working, which includes social distancing when possible, certainly masks, hand sanitizing. We are quarantining when kids have the least possible possibility of being exposed to someone that is infected. So again, we continue to try to find the answer that will please everybody, and come to the realization that's just not going to happen.
Well, in light of everything that's happened, CUSD continues to receive numerous awards. Can you share just a couple of those fantastic achievements this year?
Well, certainly, and I won't go through all the athletic achievements, but we had a badminton team, a volleyball team, a golf team. They've all were state champions, and I'm sure I've missed a few. The niche.com, that's unsolicited. They look at a variety of data from districts. They did rank us number one in Maricopa County. I believe it's Maricopa County again. We had a record number of national merit semifinalists, scholars in well over 60, I believe. So we're waiting to hear if some of them get the ultimate award, but that is a record number for us. 3 A+ schools during this period of time, and those celebrations are virtual. We successfully opened an elementary school, and construction of our 7th high school, or our high school is underway. So the staff is working practically 24/7. I'm sure it's more like 15 hours a day, but they've been tremendous. All of them, all the employees have just put their hearts and souls into Chandler schools over the last several months.
Well, Dr. Castile, we truly value the work of your leadership and team and all of our educators in our community. They are truly, truly amazing. Thank you. Joining me now is Dan Kuiper with Valley Christian Schools. Dan, I know this year has brought a unique set of circumstances for educators, and we're inspired about how all of our schools have really pivoted to continue to provide exceptional education here in Chandler and to support both of our students and all of the families in our community. Can you share a little bit about what Valley Christian and how your team has really found those unique, innovative ways to connect with students while providing a safe environment?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And it's a privilege, and it's really a privilege to be part of the Chandler community. We've really felt a lot of support from the city of Chandler. And as I think everyone knows, education has been a real challenge, how to deliver that in a meaningful way. Our 3 pillars here at Valley Christian are academic excellence, growing students spiritually, and lifelong community. And that lifelong community piece has been a real challenge during this COVID period where we couldn't have students on campus. So starting all the way back last March, we pivoted pretty easily because we do have a one-on-one program for our students already. Every student has an iPad. We have a program where learning management system, Moodle, et cetera, that was all ready to go. So our teachers pivoted within one day, and hats off to them for doing that so quickly. Obviously, we had to be flexible with that, and we learned a little bit as we went because we weren't fully online at that time, but we just had the technology to be able to do that. So, but then the lifelong community piece, we still did a lot of spirit things online with our students. We had daily challenges with our students through online programs. We had our Bible department do devotionals with our students at that time, teachers as well. There had to be a time for that during the day. Just a lot of Stucco stuff still happened through that, and just the one-on-one of teachers and students. But again, learned a lot through that process, and our hope was always to still have it. We had a unique graduation last year, a drive-through graduation, which went over very, very popularly. People loved it. In fact, they said, "Why can't we do that for our normal graduation?" So just a lot of innovative things kind of came out of that. And so, our hope and prayer was throughout the summertime we could be back to normal again at the beginning of the year. But, that didn't look like it could happen as normal. So we had to reimagine. That's the word we're using right now. Reimagine a lot of things at the school. So really appreciate Chandler, our communications director, is in communication with Chandler District all the time, just getting ideas of what the Chandler school districts are doing, in communication with other smaller schools. We did, so we got a lot of ideas, shared our ideas with them as well. So appreciative of the whole educational community working together to try to solve some of these issues. But yeah, normal protocol, I think, that a lot of schools have had. We did go one-on-one in-person learning right when the governor said it was okay to do so as private Christian schools. And but lots of protocols, from temperature taking to fewer students in classrooms to one-way directions to wearing masks to doing online chapels, all that sort of things.
One of the biggest things that you said earlier, and it makes me so proud about this community, is our community collaboration.
Yep.
And I know that with our chamber roundtable discussion groups and the educators all coming together and really working as a unit, it's about helping the youth of our community.
Absolutely.
And we so appreciate that. Now let's take a look at our hospitality partners and see what they have been up to this year. Hi, joining me now is Tia Vincent with Gila River Hotels and Casinos. And Tia, thank you so much for joining us. You guys continue to be great community partners in all aspects, in good times and in struggling times. So thank you. You have worked not only so diligently, but your employees, what you have done with your employees, as well as the local community in the time of need, you have just incorporated that into your overall culture. Can you share with us some of your give back programs and your initiative that your amazing team has implemented over the past year?
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that Gila River Hotels and Casinos is a very progressive organization. A lot of our executive leaders are very progressive in just their leadership alone. And it's not something that we're not going to be progressive in our corporate giving as well, too. So that's definitely something that we definitely wanted to highlight even during this time. We know that a lot of nonprofits are struggling right now, and we're very fortunate that we still have the opportunity and the ability to give back to the community, and we definitely wanted to highlight that and to just show some love to our neighbors in the city of Chandler, but also throughout the state of Arizona as well. During some of these tough times, one of the very first initiatives that we had done right before, as we were getting ready to close our doors for the very first time, we had just received a shipment of like $60,000 to $70,000 worth of food. So we knew that, that this is a tough time, and we definitely did not want this food to go to waste. So we were able to organize with the Gila River Indian community and and to get with their families to be able to donate that $60,000 worth of food back to the community. And so to be able to, to help some of those families that, that could use it and benefit from that extra food that we had. So we definitely don't want to be wasteful, especially during this time, and, and to give it to people that could use it. So that was one of the very first initiatives that we had implemented right out of the gate. And then also as we continue to move along in our closure, a lot of our employees too, we definitely wanted to make sure that we took care of them. Again, without our employees, our team members, we definitely wouldn't be successful as we are. So we definitely want to take care of them. And so we were able to continue to pay them during this closure, and just so that way that they didn't have anything else to worry about. We were able to cover their medical insurance as well. So to be able to continue that for our employees, and just to make sure that we just didn't want to be another burden to them. So that was also another big push for us, is to make sure that they were taken care of.
One of the things that really impressed me as well is when you started to bring people back, the thoughtfulness and everything that your executive team put into place, and really kind of for the safety of your patrons coming in as well as your employees. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that was a really big deal for us. We definitely had to change our operations and how we have been operating since we opened our door. So it was definitely a learning experience for us as well, but we definitely wanted to make sure that they were taken care of, that our patrons were taken care of, that we were taking it seriously. And so we included a lot of, plexiglasses around our slot machines. We put them up at the Players Club. We put plexiglass up, in our food and beverage outlets, also like at the cage cashiers. We definitely had markings along the floor to 6 feet of social distancing. We definitely didn't open our entire operation at the very beginning. We definitely opened up in phases just to make sure that, if there were any issues that came along the way, that we were able to handle them in small phases. And, we had closed our poker room, our blackjack, all of our table games were closed, our bingo, and, a lot of our food and beverage outlets were closed as well. So, as we continued to make these accommodations to the operations, we were able to then focus on the next department and then the next department, and to make those safety measures as well. So it definitely was something that we took to heart, and we definitely wanted to make sure that everybody was safe. And, all of our employees that come to work here were, even today, we've been like, I have my stickers on my badge of how many times I've been tested. We get tested every 2 weeks, and it's a requirement. Every day I come to work, my temperature is checked. I go through the questions, have you had fever, have vomiting? I go through those questions, I answer no. And so every single team member that comes to work every day has to make sure they go through that. If there's, showing signs of symptoms, they go through the whole tracking, the tracing process, and and that's taken care of. And so we just definitely want to make sure too that our employees are at ease and know that the person that they're working next to has been tested and that they're going through the same safety measures that they are. So that's really important to me. And as a team member here, I come back to work and I am out on property every day. And just to know that my coworker sitting outside is going through the same safety measures as I am. So it definitely makes me feel a lot better to be here.
Well, your organization continues to show excellence in all aspects, and we are so grateful. I just have to ask one more question. What does 2021 bring for Gila River Hotels and Casinos? What's exciting?
Well, we can't divulge all of our secrets. We have a lot of good stuff coming up for 2020, even when it comes to nonprofits as well. We just awarded several nonprofits as part of our self-excluded jackpot portion. So we were able to award several nonprofits and to help them out with generous donations like of $25,000 and some change. So they were able to do good things in their community. So when it comes to the nonprofit side of things, I can tell you that a lot of, if you work for a nonprofit, please keep your eyes out, make sure you follow us, because there may be opportunities that you want to apply for and, get a chance to, be part of the whole process here. And, but yeah, so for Gila River Hotels and Casinos, you just never know what we're doing. We do got a few things up our sleeve, so we're gonna have to wait. But again, so Gila River is known for not sitting still and not being stagnant, and there's always something exciting. We're always looking to do something fun, and that's what makes it great about working here, is that it's never the same. And so you're just gonna have to wait and see.
Well, we are so excited. And Tia, I just want to thank you and your team for your dedication to our community and keeping not only your employees, but our community safe in everything that your company does. We truly appreciate you and value you, and so glad that you're here. Thank you. Hi, joining me now is Kelsey Punter with Home2 Suites by Hilton Phoenix Chandler. We know our local hotels have been working diligently to maintain clean, safe locations for our travelers to stay while you're also caring for our first responders and healthcare workers. Kelsey, talk to me a little bit about all the programs and procedures your team has been doing and have implemented over the past year, because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. We, especially at the Hilton Hotels, have been participating in what is called the Hilton Clean Stay program. So while we always have worked to provide a clean and safe experience for our guests, we've upped the ante on that effort. We have added extra layers of cleaning with extra sanitation processes using like Lysol products. So after we already clean everything, we go back and we re-sanitize just to make sure that we add that extra layer of sanitation. And that's both in our guest rooms and in our public areas as well.
So when somebody checks out, you're not checking somebody else into that hotel room right away.
No, we try to leave at least for 24 hours to let the room settle so that we can help keep our team safe. And then after that time period has passed through, we go in and do a deep cleaning of the room. And then our room attendants, after the clean like normal, they do another sanitization process. And then when our inspectors and managers go in to check the room before a new arrival comes in, they re-sanitize the area with Lysol products, especially the big touch point areas. We're talking doorknobs, light switches, remote controls. And then we actually add extra seals. So once it's sanitized, we seal the remote and we seal some other areas so that our guests know that that has been cleaned and has been sanitized.
Pretty amazing. So also talk real briefly about what you're doing with our first responders and our healthcare workers, because Arizona has a lot of traveling nurses and healthcare workers. Can you talk a little bit about that program?
Yeah, so we had participated in a frontline medical donation in the spring. So from April 13th to the end of May, Hilton actually donated up to 1 million nights for our first frontline medical professionals. Here at the home too, we did a little over 200 room nights during that process that were all complimentary for our frontline medical professionals. And beyond that, once that program was over, we didn't stop. We still had some reduced rates for our traveling nurses, really making sure we can take care of them since they're taking such great care of us.
Wow. You and your team continue to amaze me, and all the great programs and keeping everybody safe so that people can come to Chandler and they need to feel safe about visiting here. So thank you, Kelsey, and your tremendous dedication for everything that you do for our community. Now let's take a look at our retail partners, what they have been up to this year. With me now is General Manager David Moss of the Chandler Fashion Center. David, thank you so much for joining us. You know, you have been amazing, from your curbside service to new ways of celebrating the holidays. Your retailers, both large and small, you have continued to adapt as needed throughout this year. Can you share with us a little bit about how your team has kind of changed and what new things are happening with the retailers at the mall?
Sure. You know what? We've had quite the year. We've increased our cleaning standards. We've changed how you get in and get out. We've made it so you can pick up stuff at the curb, like you said, or right at the doorway of the retailer. You can get it quick. You know, we have what we call gift assurance. You know, where you get your gift right in your hands. You get to take it home. You don't have any chance of losing it. It's right there with you. And you know what? We're doing lots of things. We've got places for you to take pictures. We still have a contactless Santa. The retailers got queue lines. They're trying to make sure that the process goes quick and smooth for everyone, and while we up all of our health standards.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the interactive kiosk in that, so that people aren't overwhelmed when they go to the mall?
Sure. You know, we've got some fun things happening. We've got a living wall that we installed that you can take pictures in front of, socially distanced, of course. We've got a kind wall that actually is right now with the Salvation Army. For all the angel tree donations, which the great people of Chandler support in a really great way. And so you can be kind by helping those in need. And yeah, but as you walk around, I mean, Hickory Farms will still find a way to get you a sample, I think.
I love that. Well, David, I just want to thank you and your team for supporting Chandler businesses. And I know that you stepped out of the box, thought out of the box, and are letting us do our PPE distribution there at the mall. And we really want to thank you for being a true community partner here in Chandler.
Well, we love the Chamber and we love Chandler, and we're glad to be a part of it. Thanks.
Great. Now let's take a look at what some of our manufacturing partners are doing. Hi, joining me now is Nanette Vaz with the Intel Corporation. Nanette, welcome. I just want to say our manufacturing partners here in Chandler have done some amazing things this year, work to keep our community protected. Can you share with us some ways that Intel has been innovative in your approach, not only internally, but externally? And happy 40th anniversary too.
Oh my gosh. Thank you very much. Wow. What a year to have an anniversary. You know, it's a great question you asked, because we hope that 2020 certainly is going to be remembered as the year of COVID, but I think it's also the year of innovation. It has really forced all of us to think differently. And being a high tech company, it really highlights the importance of technology. It's amazing how much it has done for us to recognize how important we are to our employees, to all the workers that we work with here in Chandler and in Arizona. It is so critical that we work with so many contractors and partners and suppliers and everyone. There's not a single person on this earth who hasn't been impacted by COVID. And the community. So it also is a highlight of how fortunate we are, and how much it is a responsibility for ours to help others that might not be as fortunate. So you talk about how it impacts us individually, just how we hold our meetings, how we perform. As we were having fun a minute ago with getting our backgrounds ready for this video call, that is a part of life now. And I think there's a positive part to that. It really enables our reaching out to others, in some ways even more and better. Intel has been really thankful for being a part of this community for 4 decades. And one of the things we had to figure out is, how do we celebrate our 40-year anniversary with many of us working from home, some of us working in the buildings. If you're in the factory or if you're in a lab, you might be in the buildings. But how can we still celebrate as one community? So what we did is we used technology. We used the art of storytelling, where we shared personal stories, community stories about what we are very proud of about being a part of Arizona. The other thing I'd say is our workforce really loves giving back to the community. I always say that we're here in Arizona, we work here, but we live here. I raised my children here. Everyone who works here we're a part of this community in every way possible. And we wanted to give back. And there's so many creative things that have been done with 3D printing PPE for people who require it. And just on and on. It's amazing how the volunteerism did not get negatively impacted at all. If anything, it was pushing hard to go the other direction because we recognized that the community needed it. And innovation, again, things that we thought were not possible. Now, when we're forced to do something differently, we figured it out. And we're very proud of how we, serviced our customers around the world. Think about it, right? COVID was rolling through the entire globe. And it seemed like every moment, I'm actually in the supply chain, and every moment we had to adjust to something that was happening in the world. And that also made us, I think, more nimble and more accepting of other people around the world and what their challenges might be as well.
Well, Intel is such a great community partner. And always, both internally, how well you take care of your employees and how you allow them to really, whether it's the education realm or helping at the homeless shelters or whatever the case may be, you really empower your employees. And that speaks volumes about you as an organization. And we cannot thank you enough for everything that Intel has done throughout this year. So thank you, Nanette, for sharing with us Intel's continued commitment to serving the Chandler community. Now, let's go ahead and hear from our next manufacturing partner, Northrop Grumman. Hi there. Joining me right now is one of the executives from Northrop Grumman. We have Mark Haney with us. Mark, our manufacturing partners here in Chandler have done so many amazing things this year and work to help keep our community protected. Can you talk about some of the ways that Northrop Grumman has been innovated in your approach to meet the needs of the community?
Sure can. Good morning, Terry, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about Northrop Grumman and highlight some of the activities of our employees who are involved in serving the needs of our community. First and foremost, I'd like to say that in Northrop Grumman, we're dedicated to the safety of our employees, their families, and our communities. Our Northrop Grumman facility in Chandler produces a variety of launch vehicles that fit into 3 broad categories: vehicles that are used by the Department of Defense for national security, our Antares launch vehicle that carries supplies to the astronauts aboard the International Space Station for NASA, and interceptor vehicles that protect our country from incoming missile threats. So you can pretty clearly see that this work's critical to our country and it's deemed essential. At the outset of the pandemic, we took immediate action to protect our essential workforce, moving non-essential work off of our campus, employing strict facial coverings and social distancing within our workforce, modifying our facility to provide additional protection, and conducting thorough contact tracing activities when someone is sick. Our response to the pandemic also affected what we're doing with our community outreach, as you can imagine. Every year, we participate in multiple community events, bringing hundreds of volunteers, including STEAM events, supporting our veterans, beautifying and improving our local Chandler Title I schools. And even with the limitations that were placed on us by this pandemic, our employees have found ways to give back to the community. Just some of those projects that we'll highlight here include, we used our 3D printing capability at our Chandler facility to produce over 1,000 face shields that were donated to local hospitals and medical institutions. With matching gifts from our corporate office, our Arizona employees donated over $48,000 to local COVID relief efforts. We're currently working with Conley Elementary for our annual Day of Caring event, where we will make improvements to the school's drinking water system. Earlier this year, prior to COVID, we participated for the 8th year in the Chandler Science Spectacular, where we had over 100 employees involved and participating with more than 25 STEAM exhibits. Each year, our employees donate hundreds of wreaths through Wreaths Across America. The donations support the Valley of the Sun Mortuary and Cemetery here in Chandler. Over the past 25 years, we've provided gifts to more than 2,300 local children through Salvation Army Angel Tree Program. And we're hoping to continue to make an impact this year. We have 175 children's names that need to be shopped for this year. In addition to that, and perhaps one of my favorite ones, is shopping for bicycles. We have an Angel Bike Fund that's kind of unique to our company. These funds are used to purchase bicycles to provide to children who would otherwise not receive them in the local Chandler community. And over the last few years, we've provided over 1,300 bikes and helmets to children. So Northrop Grumman is a proud member of Chandler community, and we're all in this together.
Well, we are so proud of the work that you're doing. And because everything that our companies do, it really does take all of us to move our communities forward. So thank you so much for all that Northrop Grumman does in our community, and stay safe and healthy. And thank you for your commitment to our country and what you're doing. It really, truly makes a difference. Thank you. Joining me now is Gavin Jacobs. Gavin, welcome. Gavin is the owner of, he is one of the owners of the Brickyard as well as the Hidden House right here in downtown Chandler. And so, Gavin, I know you being a restaurant owner here have had a number of set of different obstacles that you've had to overcome. And we've also seen some incredible ways that your team has kind of helped navigate it during this whole year. Can you share with our audience and how you've kept not only your employees safe, but your restaurant, your customers safe as well?
Of course. First off, good to see you again, as always. Year. When we had our shutdown March 12th, we didn't know what direction things were going to go. We have 2 restaurants. We have about 65 employees with both restaurants. So we had to make some quick decisions rather fast, as most restaurant owners had to do. What we ended up doing is keeping our salaried employees on board here, and we furloughed everybody else to see what Governor Ducey was going to do. So restaurants were closed for about 2 months. We were able to 98% of our employees that we had let go with both restaurants, which was unbelievable after 2 months. We take care of our employees over at our restaurants. Focus was two things. The first one was taking care of our employees, making sure we're taking the right precautions. The second one was our guests, that if they were coming back, how would they feel safe and how are things going to evolve? So with that said, we brought all our employees back into the hidden house and we had a huge meeting. We took CDC guidelines and regulations as well as OSHA and whatever executive order there was. With my marketing team and with payroll specialists, we actually put together an entire packet and amended our employee handbook. We did a 2-day training program with our entire staff on the new guidelines for our employee handbook, and those were set down. Everybody signed off on it. These are our new guidelines when it comes to sanitation when you walk in the restaurant, with having temperature taken. If you don't feel good, this is the protocols we're going to take, that you're not going to be here for 2 weeks, and I'm going to make sure that you're taken care of. Especially who they were around, and if anything did happen. We've been very fortunate with the outcomes of not getting really COVID, but it's out there, and it's continuing even today. So with that said, we did 2 days of training. We added about 6 pages to our employee handbook. So temperatures taken, we got hand sanitizer on every single table, the way the food's handled, gloves, extra trash cans. I mean, social distancing 6 feet, but we've taken it to the next level at both restaurants. When we sanitize the table has to be sanitized from 5 to 10 minutes before we actually even go and re-wipe it down and make sure it's set up. My focus at foremost was making sure that my employees were comfortable and they were happy and they wanted to come back and work, because nobody knew what direction this pandemic was going to go. Next was, if our customers were going to come back, how would we make them feel comfortable and how would they be happy coming out and being in an environment where they're unsure of things. So, I mean, we put guidelines in from day one, and, social media goes both ways, but our focus is always, let's do what's right and let's do what's best. If we're going to do it, let's just do it right. So we did get hit at first a little bit on, you guys are taking temperatures at the door. You guys are making everyone wear masks when you come in. And it's funny, you go down the road 6 months, those same customers are coming back and saying, oh my God, we're happy you're taking precautions. So we stuck to our values. We stuck to taking care of the needs and wants of our employees and as well as our customers. And it's actually done us real. The return customers, the comfortability level of all of them. I haven't lost any staff. We're moving in the right direction. So it's been a long journey, and it's been a long road to adjusting, to say the least. But we're happy and proud of who we are and what we do.
So one other thing I'd like you to talk about, because you did some really unique things with the Brickyard, because restaurants have to be closed. You can only have 50% capacity in your restaurant. Can you talk to us about what you did at the Brickyard?
Definitely. So, about 6 weeks ago when the weather started cooling down a little bit, John Owens, economic developer with the city of Chandler, approached me and said, as well as the chamber, so you guys were in the forefront of it, and said, would you be willing to do some sort of on-street dining? And with the executive order at the Brickyard, we used to pack it pretty tight there with people on a day-to-day basis. We really got reduced and hit hard. From 19 bar seats to 8 bar seats, we went from having a full dining when it's in a narrow place, left for 5 tables inside the dining area. I have 17 employees there, and I'll take my shirt off that I'm able to provide for them. So it's been a long hurdle there up until recently. We were actually approved by the city and by the Arizona Department to do street dining. So the city has actually permitted us to take 4 parking spots. We have a 35 by 15 foot patio in the front. We've almost been able to double our seating capacity. So we're back to about 85, 90% where we usually are, which gives us good hope. If it wasn't for this being such a strong act and aggressive awards doing something like this, as well as the chamber, that could still be ongoing for a couple months. I jumped on board right away. and the city worked very well with me to help me get it done. It's huge for us. We've been filling it every night. It's about a week we've had it. We've had a couple hundred tables out there. Customers seem to love it. The community is 100% in support of it. And it honestly is our saving grace. It actually is, it's going to actually save the Brickyard as long as we're able to stay open.
I love that concept. And I know that when you drive down the street, people are just kind of sitting there, but you've added plants and greenery and outdoor heaters out there. And it's kind of neat because people are creatures. People love to people watch one another. And it's they're sitting there right in the middle of the street on a wood deck. So I love that.
Fun. It's fun. Well, it's different. It's being in Arizona. You can't beat the weather. So with this amazing weather right now, like everybody wants to be on the patio. We have 6 space heaters out there. Pretty much every table has its own heater. And everyone actually, things have been pretty tight over there. So with the contractor and with my table supplier for my restaurants, everyone is been able to like kind of a helping hand, kind of push us over this hump over there.
I just want to thank you and your leadership and your team because you have been amazing. You've thought out of the box. You aren't afraid to try new things. And you've started a new trend here in downtown Chandler, and we love that. So Gavin, thank you again for everything that you're doing for our community in your perseverance and creativity. Now let's take a look at what some of our service partners are doing here in Chandler. Hi, here with me now is Andrea with Bar 3 Chandler. We know that gyms and fitness studios have remained committed to the health and well-being of our community by offering all kinds of updated accessibility to fitness resources because exercise is so important to all of us. Can you share with us some of the innovative ways you and your team have been able to continue to offer classes while adhering to safety guidelines?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Terry. I just want to say thank you for highlighting not just the fitness industry, because yes, it is so vital to our health and wellness, but shining a light on Bar 3. Within, I think 48 hours, we had to quickly pivot and completely shift our business model and go virtual. Bar 3 is a franchise, and Bar 3 does have an online platform, but it's just not our business at the local level. It's not it's not what we specialize in. We specialize in, face-to-face interaction and being in person. So this was very new for my team. I just want to applaud everybody on my staff, our instructors, our studio ops team for making it happen. And in such a short amount of time. So we shifted, like I said, within a couple of days and started, a virtual platform for our clients to join us. We did everything, but, we did everything like doing classes on Facebook, using Instagram Live, Instagram TV to promote our classes. And of course, Zoom, Zoom, we continue to have challenges, just logging everybody in. And thankfully, our members have been so gracious with us every single day. Anytime, we can't get a link up, we can't get everybody to log in. And sometimes now being open, this is all happening while our clients are in the studio with us. So whether they're at home or in the studio, it's been a huge adjustment for everybody. And I can't just say enough about how we've all just, kind of rallied around each other to make this happen. Aside from virtual classes, early on, we were able to do some outdoor classes. Of course, here in Arizona, this year, because COVID hit right in the heart of summer, it wasn't ideal to push all our classes outdoor. I live in a neighborhood with an amphitheater, so luckily I was able to host a few outdoor classes. I think we did them once or twice a week at one time, but it was like 115 degrees outside. And during our shutdown, Terry, I think we had, at one point, an average of like 30 clients out there in the middle of summer. And it was really incredible. It just shows the dedication and the need that our clients have to be together, to move together, and to stay healthy.
Well, you and your team have done amazing work, and you are the epitome of what a great small business is here in our community. And we so value that in everything that you've done. So thank you. You have poured your heart and soul into developing new programs at your studio that really make us proud. So now let's take a look at what our local elected officials have been up to this year. Joining me now is Representative Jeff Winiger from Legislative District 17. And thank you, Jeff, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We know that our elected officials have been working diligently to hear and serve the needs of our community throughout the many challenges this year. So when this all first happened, you were in session, then abruptly stopped. But your work hasn't stopped at all. So can you talk to us a little bit on how you've continued to remain connected with residents and businesses, and also representing your district and still keep doing the work that you're doing?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, obviously, we'd much rather be there. It's easier to do it there and easier to get results for people. But this has it's had its challenges, but it's also allowed us to figure out more efficient ways, just like we do in business, of how to do things. And so we get lots of calls, lots of emails. My assistant, Iris, who's amazing, she still funnels me lots of things, including phone calls and issues. We've had a lot of issues with unemployment and people just not being able to get it, not being able to get in contact with someone. And we've had some issues with DMV, not anything really their fault, but just it's tough because they're working remotely as well. And so we take those on and we kind of act as an advocate for them and contacted the department ourselves. And I can't say, a lot of times people might just not qualify for unemployment, but I think we've done really raised the bar in how we've reached out to them and then reach out to the department and have gotten a lot of feedback back from them. I think there was one issue with a DMV where somebody whose son was disabled and he just couldn't get a placard because of all this for their vehicle. And we made a call and they got it that afternoon, which doesn't, really say anything about us. That's our job. But it's just sometimes that in these stressful times, being that conduit to that department helps.
So during this time, you have had some things that we've tried during COVID that have been pretty successful. Do you want to talk a little bit? Because you've been instrumental because you're also a business owner.
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of fallen into things that I've pushed as far as technology and things. So I would say a couple things right off the top of my head would be telemedicine, which has been pretty amazing and I think can continue. And we normalize this going forward in the rural parts of the state and, where they don't have these facilities and stuff right near them, that's going to be a great thing going forward. And then alcohol to go, I think for a lot of restaurant owners was a very big deal and helped stop the bleeding a little bit, just a little bit, as far as helping ramp their sales up a little bit. And that helped bars as well when they can do it, because nobody has the right to serve cocktails to go at all in the state. So mixed margarita or something in obviously a confined container and making it safe, but nobody's had that right. So that was something that could add to everyone's revenue during these times. And since people are going to be at home, then they can take a margarita at home from their favorite place or something.
There you go. So what should we look for in 2021?
I have my committee assignment. I'm going to be the chairman of commerce again, which is an honor and great to hopefully be representing, continue to represent, Chandler Chamber and Gilbert Chambers thoughts down there. I think, we'll get started and hope that things are going to continue. We'll be able to go on with session. At the end of last year, we did pass a budget that did fulfill that 20% raise for teachers, and funded, things for this next year, and revenues have been better than expected during this time. But I think you could see a lot of the same bills that kind of got hung up and didn't go anywhere. I've got a couple or a few of my own. I was actually just talking to somebody about the liquor omnibus bill, which is that gigantic bill that all the nuances of liquor legislation. But a lot of those same kinds of things, I think you might see some things, whether it be helping people out, with the COVID crisis, or protecting businesses, which is something we tried passing right at the end there for COVID protections and frivolous lawsuits or something coming forward. So a whole litany of things. Hopefully some justice reform again, maybe some tax reform. We can't be overtaxing everybody during these times when businesses are trying to rebuild, which are the foundation blocks of how the cities and towns and everybody funds themselves. So,
well, Jeff, I just want to thank you for your leadership down there at the Capitol. And I know that you work with our other elected officials really, really closely. And we applaud that, because not every community is as blessed as we are to be able to have that collaboration, and how you're not afraid to cross party lines. And it's about the issues and the people here of Chandler. So we really appreciate your leadership and your efforts. And thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you. And thank you for everything you're doing in the community. During this crisis, the Chamber has helped out immensely with businesses and getting information out and doing everything. And I know I appreciate it, as well as all of our constituents.
Well, thank you.
I'm sure you will agree. These are inspirational from just a few of our Chandler business here in our community. And we really felt that they needed to be told. I would like to thank our sponsors, Air Products and Chemicals, Dignity Health, Chandler Regional Hospital, and Salt River Project. Without you, we could not make these events happen. Please know that the Chandler Chamber is here as a resource for your business needs, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are business strong, member driven, and truly stronger together. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your evening.